special meeting of the Milford Board of Education to order. Mr. Espy, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Combs. Mrs. Nolan.
Yes.
Mrs. Mason.
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut.
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes, thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda as it's presented.
So moved. Second?
Call the roll.
Mrs. Nolan.
Yes.
Mrs. Mason.
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut.
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes, thank you. Brings us to our first public participation. Do we have anyone?
No.
Okay, let's move right ahead to the Treasurer's Report, Mr. John Espy.
Thank you, President Miranda, members of the board. I bring to you this afternoon a resolution to proceed for the emergency levy in November of 2023 election. This happened after the resolution that was passed at the last meeting, where I reached out to the county auditor. They provided a certificate certifying that millage, sent it back, and then this is essentially the resolution for me to file with the Board of Elections to place this on the ballot.
And this is the last step of having this be put on the ballot. We vote here, you do your thing, and it is on the ballot.
Correct. The third step would just be getting a form from the Board of Elections verifying that everything is good to go in terms of the language.
But
So no more board
there's
action.
no more board action at this point.
Correct.
Okay.
Does the millage, is it actually set, or does it, for the bond, they tweaked it a little, right?
So basically, this is a fixed sum in the amount of an equivalent of 5.99 mils.
Yes.
So what happens is if the valuation goes up, millage drops. If it goes down, it cannot be, there cannot be any more collected than that set amount.
The
dollar amount.
But the millage may tweak depending on,
Yes, yes.
and when's that get set?
The millage is set at 5.99 mils. So that's actually part of the language.
Okay.
And so it's set based off of that certification to the county auditor, because our valuation is not going to change from when that initial resolution.
Until November.
Till November.
Okay.
Okay, we've already made the motions, correct, or have we?
We've not.
There's been no motion.
We have not. Okay, I need a motion to approve the resolution to proceed with the tax levy.
So moved. Second?
Any other discussion?
I just want to make sure that I got Mrs. Nolan as the first and Mrs. Mason as the second.
Yes.
Okay, call the roll.
Mrs. Nolan.
No.
Mrs. Mason.
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut.
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to Human Resources Business, Superintendent John Spicer.
Thank you, President Miranda, members of the board. We have two items for you today. Item number one, under certified, we are asking for approval 5 additional workdays for the following employees. Those are our school counselors at the junior high and the high school. Also asking for approval letter B, curriculum pay not to exceed 40 hours for the Apex Credit Recovery. And under item 2, we are asking for your approval of the non-renewal of all supplemental contracts as presented for the 22-23 term, which is standard operation. We do this every year, so it's not because somebody is
Yes.
whatever. We talked about that in the past, but yes.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the item D, 1 and 2 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I've got a question, and I don't have the whole list in front of me.
Yes.
The 6 baseball coaches, that's for the whole program. That's not just varsity, correct?
Yeah, it would be, it's every supplemental we have from last school year, 22-23 school
Right,
year,
but I'm
yes.
just asking the 6 assistant baseball coaches that are on that list,
Yes,
that's for the whole program. That's not 6 just for varsity.
correct.
And then the 2 Donna Krogers from McCormick, is that a typo? Or is there really 2 Donna Krogers spelled differently?
There could be 2 different supplementals that person holds, so technically it'd be 2 separate contracts. I can pull that
Yeah,
list up.
I believe in looking at the music stuff, there were 3 or 4 for one individual
She
at
could hold
least.
more than one.
They were spelled differently, so I didn't know if it was the same person or different people, or... And I didn't print it out, so I don't have the
Nope.
list in front of me.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. John Espy, can you share with the group during discussion a little bit about what you shared with me of the why we needed to have this? Because it pertains specifically to these supplementals and the agreement and what you learned this week. Can you share that, please?
Sure. So part of what we're doing is actually working as a district to go to a electronic signature contracts for all employees. It'll drastically reduce a lot of the paperwork that we're doing. And we were working with our attorney in that process, and it came up the fact that not all supplementals had been non-renewed every year as they should be, as Ohio Revised Code says that they should. So that's really the crux of why we're doing this. We're doing this to make sure that we're meeting Ohio Revised Code, doing things on the up and up. But it was discovered as we were working on additional efficiencies of time and effort with our staff, and also cost savings by using less paper.
And we're not past the time limit on any of that, correct?
No, we're not. June 1st is the deadline to do this. I am seeing Donna Kroger twice. There's an K-R-O-E and then K-R-O. It's doubtful that
It's the same
it's
person.
the same person, yeah. It's doubtful that it's a different person, so it is the same person.
It is the same person.
Is the same person? And
Yes.
she has 2 contracts at the same school?
No, she would only have the one art show setup coordinator. That's what they're both listed as, so she would only have that one. It looks like it just got in there due to a typo.
So she's not getting paid twice?
She's not getting paid twice.
Okay. And then the other question I had on the 6 art show coordinators for the high school. In my head, a coordinator is someone that coordinates, puts it all together. Are they all coordinating it together, or are they different departments within art? Or is that something we could have, reduce the number of coordinators and add more like student volunteers to help set it up?
A lot of times with some of our supplementals, they will split supplementals and split them up to where not one person is getting the entire supplemental. I'd have to go back. I don't have the actual FTE data here, but we can go back and certainly check that.
And it is a stipend that they're receiving, and they have to stay through the course. Their requirement to get the full stipend is to stay through the setup of Friday, all day Saturday, that whole piece.
And how much is a stipend?
I think it's 500.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Emily, do you recall, wasn't this one that we had at a certain level and we reduced it somewhere along the line, a couple of years ago, maybe?
That was the field day coordinator, I believe.
Was that the field day coordinator?
Pulled up in here.
Okay,
I can pull it up.
that's okay. I believe Mr. Spicer is correct.
So those 6 coordinators set up the whole thing and stay the whole weekend? Is that,
Set up, tear down, and then all the prep prior to the week. Artworks, pulling student artwork together, et cetera.
do they use any volunteers for that, student volunteers to help with that?
I would presume, yes, that there are many students that are helping with that.
I can speak on my personal experience. I think it was fairly new when I was still teaching here in the district, and it was an undertaking. It was a massive project to get that weekend or those couple days together. So I know that personally from the fine arts side or from the performing arts side, there were parent volunteers to help coordinate and move items. I'm sure it's evolved quite a bit since I was teaching in the classroom, but that's what I remember from my personal experience.
Okay. And then before we vote on it, do we need to amend the agenda and take off whichever Donna Kroger is not correct?
I would say you would approve it as is, because really, it's important that, I mean, I can pull up the correct spelling, but it's important that the position and the name get non-renewed in terms of meeting Ohio Revised Code.
So we're not actually spending money at this point. We're actually
Closing.
closing off the list. So if we take her off twice, she's still off.
Okay.
So I think, I appreciate what you're saying, but yeah, you're actually not renewing everybody that's on that list, and then we start over fresh at the start of the year. Correct, Mr. Spicer?
Say, I was reading this right here. Say it again.
Correct. You're eliminating all of those, and then they'll be.
It's just like when we do coaches.
And the only thing I know about Donna, these are probably from our payroll system, but Donna actually was on maternity leave, so her supplemental was prorated, or she may have actually given that up. So there could be a reason for that in there, which would have been on the board agenda. But everybody listed right now is there, and that's why that list is.
Yeah, everyone listed was approved, and that's,
At some point.
yes, exactly. So, and the correct spelling is Kroeger.
The other places where Cincinnati loves to shop. Okay, any other comments?
That stipend is $750.
Any other comments? Call a roll.
Mrs. Nolan?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mr. Miranda?
Yes, thank you. Okay. This brings us to our second public participation, since we do not have public tonight. I'm guessing there's still no public participation.
No, I have none.
Okay. This moves us to our closing discussion. Anyone have anything? Hearing none. The next regular board meeting is June 15th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in this room. And that's the only other information we have on that, so I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Call a roll.
Mrs. Nolan?
Yes.
Mrs. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mr. Miranda?
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.